The Axeman of New Orleans is one of the most chilling and enigmatic figures in American true crime history. Operating in the early 20th century, this mysterious assailant terrorized the city of New Orleans with a series of brutal axe murders. But what makes this case even more unsettling is the Axeman's taunting letters, cryptic motives, and the fact that he was never caught. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll dive deep into the haunting story of the Axeman of New Orleans. We'll examine the crimes, the investigation, the theories, and the enduring mystery of a killer who walked away without a trace. The story begins in New Orleans, a vibrant and culturally rich city in 1918. Known for its jazz, Creole cuisine, and festive atmosphere, the city was also grappling with challenges. The shadow of World War I loomed large, and the Spanish flu pandemic was spreading fear. Yet life went on, with the city's bustling markets, lively music, and tight-knit immigrant communities. Many of the victims in this case were Italian-American grocers, reflecting the city's strong immigrant presence at the time. The grocers played a vital role in their neighborhoods, often living in small apartments above their stores. This unique setup would tragically place them in the Axeman's path. It was in this dynamic yet tense environment that the Axeman made his terrifying debut, turning the city's vibrant streets into a backdrop for one of its darkest chapters. The Axeman's reign of terror began on May 23, 1918. Joseph and Catherine Maggio, a couple who owned a small grocery store, were attacked while sleeping in their apartment above the shop. The killer entered through a panel removed from the back door, a tactic that would become his signature. Once inside, he brutally attacked Joseph and Catherine with their own axe before slitting their throats with a straight razor. The couple's bodies were discovered by Joseph's brothers, who were horrified by the gruesome scene. Police noted the brutality of the attack, but found no clear motive. Nothing was stolen, and the couple had no known enemies. The only clue was the axe left behind at the scene. This first attack set the stage for a series of murders that would leave the city in a state of panic. In the months following the Maggio murders, more attacks followed, each more horrifying than the last. The victims were often Italian-American grocers or their families, leading some to speculate that the Axeman harbored a vendetta against the community. On June 27, 1918, Louis Bessumer and his mistress, Harriet Lowe, were attacked in their home. Both survived but sustained severe injuries. Harriet's account of the attack was inconsistent, adding to the confusion. Another brutal murder occurred on August 5, 1918, when 28-year-old Anna Schneider, who was pregnant, was attacked in her home. Miraculously, Anna survived and gave birth to a healthy baby weeks later. Each crime followed a similar pattern. The killer entered through a door or window, used an axe found at the victim's home, and left the weapon behind. The lack of robbery or personal motives puzzled investigators. Theories ranged from a deranged serial killer to a member of the mafia. Some even speculated that the killer had supernatural abilities due to his ability to vanish without a trace. On March 13, 1919, the Axeman escalated his campaign of terror by sending a letter to the Times-Picayune newspaper. The letter was addressed "From Hell" and written with a chilling tone. The Axeman claimed to be a demon from the hottest hell and taunted the police for their inability to catch him. He also issued a bizarre warning. On the night of March 19, 1919, he would roam the city and spare anyone whose home was playing jazz music. The city's response was remarkable. On the night of March 19th, jazz music filled the streets. Bands played in homes, clubs, and public spaces. The Axeman did not strike that night, but his letter added an eerie layer of psychological terror to his crimes. To this day, the letter remains one of the most infamous pieces of evidence in the case, raising questions about the Axeman's true motives and his connection to the culture of New Orleans. Despite the growing fear and the mounting number of victims, the Axeman remained elusive. Police launched an intensive investigation, interviewing dozens of suspects and following countless leads. One theory suggested that the Axeman was a crazed jazz enthusiast, inspired by his letter and the cultural significance of jazz in New Orleans. Others believed he was a deranged laborer or drifter, targeting Italian-American grocers out of hatred or jealousy. Some speculated that the Axeman's crimes were ritualistic or symbolic. His methodical entry into homes and the use of axes found at the scene suggested a deliberate pattern, but the lack of evidence left these theories unproven. One suspect, Frank "Doc" Mumphrey, was linked to the murders by crime writer Colin Wilson years later. Mumphrey was a petty criminal known to target Italian immigrants. While his guilt remains debated, his connection to the crimes is circumstantial at best. The Axeman's final confirmed attack occurred on October 27, 1919, when Mike Pepitone was killed in his home. His wife reportedly saw a shadowy figure fleeing the scene, but no clear suspect was identified. After the Pepitone murder, the attacks suddenly stopped. Whether the Axeman died, was arrested for another crime, or simply chose to vanish remains a mystery. The case faded from headlines but left an indelible mark on the history of New Orleans. The Axeman became a figure of folklore, a specter haunting the city's darker past. His story inspired books, films, and even music, cementing his place in the annals of American crime history. The Axeman of New Orleans remains one of America's most enduring mysteries. His brutal crimes, cryptic letter, and sudden disappearance leave us with more questions than answers. Was he a deranged killer, a symbol of the city's turmoil, or something else entirely? What we do know is that the Axeman's reign of terror left an indelible mark on New Orleans, a city that has seen its share of dark and fascinating stories. Thank you for joining me as we explored the chilling tale of the Axeman of New Orleans. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime mysteries and historical deep dives.